G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guest today is Eduardo Ordax. Eduardo is the leading expert in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and go-to-market strategies focused on driving adoption of AI, ML among customers and enterprise. Eduardo currently works at AWS, but is joining us today in a personal capacity to share his thoughts on AI, ML, and its potential to transform businesses and society. We're really excited to speak with Eduardo about where we currently are in the AI adoption cycle versus the hype cycle and how beating AI agents might be the gateway to adoption. Let's dive in. Eduardo, tell us, what is your origin story and how did you end up working in AI and machine learning?
Well, I have a technical background, right? I'm a computer scientist, so all my career I've been working close to tech companies. But the reality is almost 10 years ago, I remember reading something about, hey, do you want to become a data scientist? But that time, 10 years ago, not so many people knew what it, was about being a data scientist, what was involved, which was the kind of, skills that you needed at the time. So I did a postgraduate program on being a data scientist, and from there I started working in this space. So it was kind of a coincidence, but yeah, I've been here for the last 10 years, I would say, yeah.
And working in AI from the beginning of that, it just happened to be AI was the thing people were working on as you came into data science, or was it something that was more deliberate on your part?
Well, 10 years ago, it was a completely different story. 10 years ago, it was mainly about, data, big data, and so on, how to get some insights from data. Not so many people talk about the AI at that time. It was something that, of course, it was there, but it was more like a technology from the future. In the future, it was not providing real value at the scale, right? So it was more about, okay, something that is here that we can work about. And because not so many people were working on that from a theoretical point of view, from a research point of view. I remember 20 years back when I was at the university, I remember studying, neural networks. But at that time when I was studying, neural networks on the paper, so that was a different story. I never imagined that, they should be able to do what they're able to do today. Actually, even 4 or 5 years ago, even before ChatGPT, not so many people thought that we could have the potential of LLMs that we have today at this moment.
No way, man. Even 3 years ago, it hadn't really hit the meta, hadn't hit the kind of mainstream. If you ask people what is an LLM, nobody would have been able to tell you what an LLM is, let alone how it relates to AI or machine learning. And here we are 3 years later, and it seems so prolific. People are using it. Well, actually, I was speaking to our producer, Sian, earlier, was saying people seem to use AI and then, there's a couple of branches. So some people use it, love it, go all in. Other people use it. They see it's not really kind of doing what they want it to do yet, and so they stop using it. Where do you think we are at the moment when it comes to AI, on a global scale? Where are we?
Yeah, I think at the global scale, it's amazing how it's performing. I was reading the numbers from OpenAI a couple of days back, and I think they were saying around 700 million users around the world. That's crazy. It's insane. It's funny because in the past, I remember to I'm traveling a lot, right? And I remember to see the people at the plane, taking the plane, sitting there, and check Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But right now, I'm taking many people, traveling around the world, and all of them with ChatGPT. I'm not sure what they're talking about with ChatGPT, but that's the reality. So I think with AI, the nice thing about AI is finally has been democratized, and this was the main problem for AI. AI was something that it was accessible only for a few folks, right? If you were working in academia, you were an AI engineer, a data scientist, ML engineer, but a very few amount of people were working with AI. And suddenly right now everyone is working with AI in one way or the other, right? You don't need to use ChatGPT. You can be using, I don't know, Snapchat. I'm too old to use Snapchat, right? I know young people is using it, right? And it's funny because you can take a picture of you and you can just change your face, and they don't know that it is AI. There is a quote that I don't remember very well who say it, but it's saying about AI is as long as it's working, you don't need to call it AI anymore. So I mean, like
Yeah.
AI right now, it's embedded on you like many different aspects of our life, and it's starting by the user. I think actually the user adoption, the end user adoption, started much faster than like enterprise adoption. I think enterprise adoption is a different story, but it's being like a crazy how almost everyone is using AI in one way or the other.
Yeah, interesting. Actually, I actually haven't heard someone mention that before, where it's become so prolific that people don't even really think about it as its own category anymore. It's just default. That's interesting, man.
Correct.
What do you think about people who talk about the dead internet theory becoming real? Speaking about AI becoming prolific and, the first couple of iterations, and AI is learning from human creativity and human effort and endeavors and data and intelligence. And then it starts to become kind of self-referential. And then the more self-referential it becomes and the more data that it learns, of which it has itself created, we're just getting worse and worse, facsimiles of facsimiles or Xeroxes of Xeroxes. What do you think about the dead internet theory?
I have opposite feelings here. I think from one side, it's obviously that like the patterns of people have changed over time, especially over the last couple of years. I mean, like something that most of the people used to do, that it was like, hey, I'm going to Google this or that because I don't know, I need to go on holidays to Australia for a couple of weeks, right? I will go into Google, I will check places, I will check flights, I will check everything on there. And actually it was taking a lot of time, right? Right now, especially young people, they are not going to Google anymore, especially because it used to take a lot of time, right? So you ask to Perplexity or you go to ChatGPT or you go to Manus AI and you just say like a good prompt, like, hey, I want to spend there a couple of weeks. I'm going, for example, with my family. I want to have like a relaxed holidays. I don't want to travel within Australia. I just prefer to stay in one single site. And then voila, you have all the information, right? So I think in this aspect, the internet is it's changing. I think also what it's saying is the capability to create information. I also was reading, I think it was like a month ago, right? Like I mean, like the content in the internet has grown exponentially, and many of them is generated by AI. So it's funny because you have more and more content generated by AI, and at the same time, people is using AI to summarize that content, right? So it's like,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
it's crazy. The problem is that because you have a lot of this AI generated content, I'm not saying that it's fake, but like it's generated by AI. So in some aspect, many websites, people just stop reading it because it's like, hey, this was not generated by humans, it's not providing me any value, and so on. But at the same time, these models need to get access to content, like to be smarter, more capable, and so on. And about creativity, I think, like it's a tough discussion, right? So what that it means creativity? I mean, like, and maybe I'm a bit controversial here, right? But any singer, any painter has learned from its predecessors, right? So
Surely.
if I'm going to, I don't know, follow the pop style, I'm going to from like many people that like were a singer before me. That it's creativity. I mean, like in some manner, they're trying to mimic how others, like were performing and so on. So this is what AI is doing in some manner, right? But also because AI has these kind of hallucinations, right? That we can call it like a future, we can call it like one of the problems of AI, but in some manner, it's generating new content, right? So it can learn from like different patterns and so on, and it's going to generate new content. So of course, it's not the same creativity as like humans have, right? And I defend pretty much because like I love to create content. I have like many people that are working on this creativity space, and I think, I mean, like the thing about people comparing to machines in terms of creativity is like machines, they are just learning from something that is like a text, it's images, it's video, but humans will learn from our entire like environment, right? And go beyond data, right? Goes beyond data because you can understand the context, you can understand how the society thinks, you can understand feelings, and AI doesn't have any feeling, at least for now, right? So different ways of seeing this. I think you can create something amazing. 11 Labs was announcing yesterday a new model for creating music. I think you can create something amazing just by using this AI model. It's different. I mean, like it's society changing, and the way that you can create the stuff is going to change over time. So if I've tried to summarize my answer, that is saying maybe I think it's just evolving. It's just evolving, and how we are going to see internet in the next few years is going to be completely different to what we have seen since the boom of the dot-com boom. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not as if the internet is something that humanity has had for, hundreds or thousands of years, as if it's some integral part of us that we must maintain its current state. It's been consistently changing, for the last 30 or 35 years. And, if this is a new iteration, one thing I do find interesting though is, like, you're talking about how one of the biggest fears in the early days, and maybe still, and in fact, maybe we're just starting to actually realize this fear of AI and the proliferation of AI, is that it's going to take your job. And the retort to that was, it's not going to take everyone's job. There's going to be some movement. There's going to be some moving chairs. What it's going to do is it's going to help people to do their job better. And what I hear you say is, it's not the death of creativity. It's going to help people with their creativity. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, in some manner, of course, it's going to help people to make more creative. In some manner, it's going to replace people that they were doing stuff, and now it will be just done by AI. And we can see it, right? I mean, like Netflix can use, for example, AI to generate some episodes or some specific scenes that maybe they don't need actors to do that, right? So, I mean, like about the discussion, if AI is going to take your job or not. So there are like two different approaches here. I think I want to believe, right, that this is not going to happen. And there is an amazing report by the World Economic Forum that it's trying to evaluate the impact of AI within the next 10 years. And what they were saying is, like, there are going to be more new jobs that will be created because of AI than the jobs that are going to be replaced by AI, right? So this is something that World Economic Forum is saying right now, and I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, we are thinking about what is going to happen with the tools that we have today, not with the tools that we may have in 5 years from now, right? So if models capability keep evolving, if we see like an adoption at the scale by the companies, right, by the enterprises. Let's say like I'm a customer and I want to make a claim about my insurance. Right now, the process is super manual. I'm sending an email with some pictures. I get into a call with an agent. He or she explains me what I have to do. Somebody's going to analyze. I get an answer. I send another email. I mean, like, the process is taking a lot of time, right? So if we find the point of time where we can really, trust these new models, because I think right now it's quite difficult, right? But I think in maybe 5 years from now, we'll be in that position, right? So AI is going to be able to automate so many things. So one thing is like you are using for your personal purpose that, I mean, like, I don't think it's going to change so much in terms of impact in your job and so on, because it's for personal use. But I think for enterprise adoption is going to radically change how we work today. And if they are so capable, maybe we are in a discussion in some years from now where we say like, hey, maybe we don't need to work 8 hours a day. Maybe we can just work, 5 hours a day, or maybe we can work a couple of days a week. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think it's likely to happen. And especially the people who are not able to embrace AI that they see as a threat right now, they're going to be in trouble. So I think we are not even aware about what is going to happen in some years from now. And in some cases, the AI will take the job. In some others, we still need this kind of, people. And of course, humans, they will be, augmented by AI. But in some cases, it will be as AI. So complicated to predict.
Yeah, man. And like you said before, if you go back 5 or 10 years, no one would have thought we would be where we are now. So how dare we, in a sense, project forward? But on the other hand, I think we owe it to ourselves and to humanity to try to project forward, because there has been a massive rush to deploy AI. You said before, one of the beautiful things about AI is the democratization of artificial intelligence. In some sense, that's really wonderful. You go back 50 years, and in terms of pre-internet days, there might be, in my country at least, there were maybe 4 television stations plus a public broadcaster. And if you wanted to get any kind of news or find out what's happening, you'd go to one of the 2 or 3 newspapers or 3 or 4 television stations, which were owned by the same people who own the newspapers. And you really only got a couple of perspectives. And then all of a sudden the internet comes along and we have this massive democratization and distribution of information, which is on the one hand really great. On the other hand, fringes became much more easy to establish. Whereas now it seems like I said before, people don't Google things anymore. They're going back to just a few companies who are curating, once again, information for the masses. So if you have 700 million people using ChatGPT, say 200 million of those are using it as their primary source of information. We had a massive consolidation of power, of narrative and communication power. Once again, even as we have a democratization, more and more people can utilize it. Less and less people, perhaps, curating the information. If you were to kind of crystal ball or cast your mind forward a little bit, thinking through some of the unintended consequences of this, rush to deploy, proliferation of AI at the moment, what are some of the warnings you might have? We'll get onto some of the really positive stuff, and you've already mentioned some of those. What are some of the concerns you might have when it comes to this rush to deploy?
Well, I think there are a lot of risks, right? And maybe we can talk later about regulation, but the reality is I try to be optimistic, right? I think humans, we are capable of the best, but also of the worst. And it happens with any new technology in life, right? And I think AI is going to be one of those. Right now, I'm looking into the internet, I'm looking into social media, and it's happening to me very often that I need to double check if this video was generated by AI or not.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more challenging to detect if it's real or if it's not. And the consequences are not so big because, it's just funny content and, it's not going to affect the way that I think.
Mm-hmm.
But in some others, I think it's crossing some limits, right? Especially with information about the war, for example, in Israel or in Ukraine and what is happening there. And people, they really are not in a good position to differentiate what is real versus what is not. And as you said, there are just a few companies that they are taking the attention or taking the data from most of the users right now. That is pretty much what is happening, for example, with social media, right? If we analyze a Meta, a Twitter, it's mainly these 2 main giants, right? So there is also risk on that because just a few forks, they are going to have the potential to control maybe how we think, how we use, how we interact. And I think AI brings a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, a lot of risk. How you are using AI to create, as I said, misinformation, disinformation, how you can manipulate people. One of the top use cases why people is using AI, platforms like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, is about personal advice, right? So
yeah,
I'm going to put just a very stupid example, right? My brother, he's terrifying about flight, right? Every time he has to take a flight, he's struggling because he's not able. It's for me it's fine, but for him it's he's restraining. He's terrifying to it. And I was talking to him the other day because he was on holidays on the Canary Island, and he was telling me he was speaking with ChatGPT just to ask for advice, about which are the kind of things that you need to follow, which good practices you should follow, before taking a flight. And you are just, following the advice of ChatGPT or Gemini or whoever, if it was a therapist or psychology. And you shouldn't. It can be super helpful, but if, for any reason, it's telling you, hey, you should, I don't know, whatever, right? Like any, because at the end of the day, like these LLMs, these platforms, they are not like 100% reliable. And there are like many different ways to bypass the way they react, right? In terms of like a prompt injection, prompt hacking, and so on. And the other day, we have seen that many personal information was available on Google from ChatGPT conversations just by putting like one keyword on search on Google, right? So many risks they are going to come, and at the end of the day, like it depends on us. Like the people who are trying to find like good purposes with it, it's fine. But the same, like like many people, they're going to find the ways to make like a pain, to create uncertain. It's going to happen with AI. So that's why I think at the end of the day, you need to establish some kind of regulation, the same that you have for other technologies, or like just talk about like weapons and so on. It's the same story. But yeah, I'm a bit concerned about what it may happen in the future if we are not able to use it in the right manner.
I mean, you work with lots of people in the technology space. Are you optimistic about our collective ability to pull back when we need to, when there is a clear runway and some sort of race to the finish line? If not technology company v technology company, certainly country v country. In a kind of global geopolitical sense, there's a race to dominance, and so how can we possibly put on the brakes? How do we kind of self-selectively say, oh, this is going to be very helpful, or this is not going to be helpful, or the means are worth it because of the outcome we'll get? I mean, we saw Facebook, maybe, I don't know, was this 2016, 2017, where the research came out, whistleblowers came out saying, not only were we post hoc seeing how people's mental health responded to their newsfeed, but we were playing with the newsfeed to see how their mental health and their thinking would actually change. And I think that's something that we, again, volunteer into. And it's, in a sense, we're going to our peers. And so we are looking for that social proof. But when it comes to AI and, say, ChatGPT, we're going to it as an authority, assuming that it's going to tell us that it's searching all, 25 web pages and searching, the whole database, and there's been trained on the whole scraped internet. Surely it's going to have the best information. And I'm not convinced that because of a perceived imperative to get there quicker, that we're not going to wreck people along the way. What do you reckon?
I agree with you. Actually, there is this example that I use it as an analogy, right? Because it's pretty much the same. I think it was about the 80s, where like most of the flight companies, like airlines, they decided to push the pilots to use more the autopilot, right? Because it was supposed to be safer. So instead of doing or flying the planes manually, they were using more and more the autopilot, and they realized that the level of accidents increased, not because of the autopilot that it was using at the time, but when there were an emergency and they needed to have the pilot in taking the control of the plane, they were losing the capabilities to react on time, to react better, and so on. So it's like the pilots, they were becoming more and more lazy, right? And I think in some manner is what is happening to us right now. I mean, I put the previous example of, hey, I'm using AI to create a lot of content on the internet, and at the same time I'm using AI to summarize that content, right? And it's what is happening right now. Is you just send me a PDF or 50 pages, I don't have time to read it, right? So I just put it into, I don't know, whatever AI tool, and say hey, give me a big a summary with the call to actions, give me the bullet points to this and that. And this, I mean, if you're doing this, it's fine, right? Because you are trying to save time. But at the same moment, it's you are trusting 100% what the model is telling you. And we are forgetting that you can hallucinate or whatever. That's why I'm saying there is this risk. If we are becoming more lazy, we are going to lose our capabilities as humans. But at the same time, there is this competition and this geopolitical environment where like the US want to lead the AI race. I think China as well, and there is a lot of talent there, and everyone is pushing and pushing to be ahead of this a competition. I think at the end of the day, that's great for the end users, right? Because we are going to see like a better technology and so on. But as you said, like in some manner, we can have like some companies that they are going to be in control of all of us, let's say, right? So it's challenging, to be honest. It's really challenging.
Have you thought through the kind of regulatory and legal guardrails that could be helpful for artificial intelligence in certain jurisdictions? But then also, is there any possibility that we could globally come together like we've done with certain things before when it comes to pandemics or nuclear proliferation? Is there any chance of coming together, or is it just going to be jurisdiction by jurisdiction, do you think? And if so, what are the good guardrails?
I think that the latter. I mean, like we are not even, able to agree on tariffs, to agree on, don't attack other countries. We are not even able, during the pandemic to have a one single approach. So the reality is I think every single country or every single jurisdiction is going to follow a different path. I think there are some countries that they are being super innovative and super advanced in tests on how they are regulating AI. For example, the UAE, the Emirates, they realize AI, it's a super powerful tool for their citizens, for the governments, for the enterprises, and they're trying to adopt AI to don't limit the use of AI, but also to create an environment where it's going to be responsible, it's going to limit any kind of risk, but they don't want to limit the capability to innovate for the companies and so on, right? Mm-hmm. The same for UAE. I think Singapore as well is following the same pattern. On the other side, you have countries or spaces like the European Union. I think they are over-regulating many aspects because we have a lot of concerns, and because we have a lot of concerns, we prefer to make something that is going to be forbidden rather than saying hey, let's use it and see what happens, right? So I'm not saying it's bad, but it's a different approach, and again, in many aspects, it's going to limit the innovation, and you are going to see a lot of back doors, right? Because when the people they cannot follow this path because it's prohibited, I'm going to follow a different approach, and maybe it's even worse. And then you have the US that they are super open, right? Hey, let's use it and see what happens after all, right? Because they want to push it and they want to innovate and they want to create new capabilities and new tools and so on. I think regulation is needed, and especially because we are facing a technology that we really don't know how it works, and that's the biggest problem. When you ask all these people working with AI and you ask about hey, why the model is taking this answer, they don't know how to answer. That's the reality. I mean, we really don't know how neural networks work. We don't know why when you are asking to write a summary about this, it's giving you the summary instead of the other. We really don't know how hallucinations are being produced. So if we're using technology that we really don't know how it's behaving, how it's giving answers, I mean, we need to regulate it in some manner, right? Because it can become super dangerous. I think not now, right? I think right now, more or less, we can say that it's under control. But I remember, I think it was with the latest release by Anthropic. I think it was Claude Opus 4, right? That they were using it, they were testing it, and at some point of time, they decided to shut it down, and the model tried to find a way to escape from this environment to replicate across many other machines, right? I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but I think it's not. And we are very close to that in the near future. That's why, we need regulation. But I agree with you, but I agree because here we are talking about something that, goes beyond technology. I think we are talking about our, about our humanity, how intelligent we can be, and maybe we are going to face a technology that is going to be smarter than us in many different aspects, right? So I think we should have a common approach, every single country, every single nation, But again, there are like so many differences, right? So see where the innovation is happening in the US and also China. Why we are going to ask the folks in Africa, right? Because hey, they are not going to give us any kind of advice, any recommendation. So I think that's the biggest problem. And again, I think we should take one single approach, but I know it's quite complicated and it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm at this stage, I'm thankful that there are a couple of there are a couple of handbrakes in terms of just the computational power needed, the expertise, even like you mentioned, the fact that it works, but do we know how to replicate the same outcome each time? And the power cost as well. But obviously, there are a lot of people working on all of those problems. How do we maximize our computational power? How do we maximize, man, as soon as someone cracks, as soon as there's an energy revolution, then AI is going to, those handbrakes really come off. And for me, that's the scary part, where even at the moment, given our lack of understanding, obviously there are people who are incredibly like giga-brained and they understand, they've made it. So they at least understand how they made what they have made, if they don't understand necessarily everything about how it works. When the guardrails come off, it seems like our pursuit of this end with fewer constraints is just going to speed up the process. And when you have an AI trying to escape its boundaries, for me, yeah, you're right. That screams Skynet to me, and I know that's kind of a meme and has been, for a long time, but certainly since Chat 3, maybe a 3.5 came about, people have been joking about Skynet. But that doesn't seem like a joke to me. I guess it will come down to what does the LLM feel is its telos? What does it exist for? But it seems like there is some sense in which it wanted to, if indeed it can have a will, it wanted to survive. It wanted to replicate. It wanted to do something. Which for me is sounding an awful lot like consciousness, or at least a basic kind of consciousness. What if you were like the ruler of the world, you got to unilaterally decide, here are some regulations, what do you think would be most helpful?
Well, I think it's a tough question, right? I think in some manner we need to put, like a very clear guardrails about how these LLMs perform to ensure that, hey, it's not going to generate this kind of, like harmful content, toxic content, misinformation, and so on. We need to define the clear guidelines on, like how we're using data to train these models, because at the end of the day, like all these models, they are being trained on data. Sometimes, or well, most of the times, like all this data is biased by nature, right? I was reading the other day a lady on LinkedIn, she was saying that, like all these models has been trained by men, because like all the data on internet, it's biased, and trying, to give men in a powerful position. And I was answering her like, yeah, maybe you're right, but at the same time, like it's biased because they are not using Spanish, and I'm talking Spanish, right? And all these models, they are being trained 95% of them on English, right? And Spanish maybe it's a very well-known language, but let's talk about other languages, minority languages, right? So I think the way that we train these models, how we use licensed data to train these models, to also use other different technologies to enhance transparency and so on. But man, I never like the regulatory space, so I'm so bad trying to give recommendations about how we should regulate this. I can think about the problems if we don't regulate correctly, right? But yeah, I think it's very tough. I think what I will suggest is like we need to include people from many different fields, like from academia, from business, from government. The problem right now, I think the biggest problem right now is like the people who is regulating this is on the public administrations, right? So that's a mistake. You are telling people that they're not using AI in their normal days, as a company, as an enterprise, or as a researcher, to tell how you should regulate these technologies. We should create very heterogeneous teams from people coming from many different domains, but in many different industries like healthcare, like legal, whatever, right? And we are not there. So we need to start first from there. And then we can think about how to regulate stuff, because I mean that the lawyer is going to find some aspects that for sure the doctor is not going to see, right? And which are the implications, which are the legal implications, which are the implications on different aspects. So I think we have to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, man, because again, once those kind of guardrails come off, some AI experts that I speak to, when I say things like, what about the proverbial genius 15-year-old in his mom's basement who spins up an AI and the AI actually becomes dangerous or, self-replicates or something, which is, for the last 30 years, that's been happening with viruses, across the internet. Again, that proverbial, sometimes they're very organized and sometimes they're very directed and targeted, but sometimes it's just, some punk kid who does something because he or she, mostly he, can, and it can have very destructive effects. And again, once certain guy, and so the experts say, well, they can't do it because you need so much processing power and computational power and energy to make things happen. But again, once all of those hurdles start to get smaller and smaller, I think back to when I was a 15-year-old, which is a very long time ago, mind you, and computers were incredibly basic, and I couldn't have fathomed that I could do what I do in my, on my home server today, running AI agents and all that kind of stuff. I'm not even a programmer, right? This is with almost no code. But for those guys who, can breathe and code just spills out, or with the help of AI can make AI, I think there's got to be some universal agreement, but only if we can agree that we need guardrails. And it doesn't seem to me that there's universal agreement, or at least maybe some people think there's there's kind of universal agreement, and yet the overarching imperative is to get there first and to have dominance. And so again, the ends justify the means. I think we need more people thinking about this kind of stuff. And for you, as someone who is an AI ML expert, I'd imagine that even though you say it's hard to think in that space, you must have some idea of some of the dangers, at least, or the areas that should have regulation around them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are like so many, and at the end of the day, we are going to be the users, the one that are going to be affected. So I think we need to work in many different aspects. I think it's the problem comes to what I was saying first, right? Like, we don't know how this because we really don't know how these systems are working under the hood. It's very complicated to define how we should control them, right?
Right.
But I mean, like, we should put in place some kind of mechanisms. But again, the line between trying to regulate and trying to stop the way that we innovate, it's very blurred, and it's quite challenging. It's very challenging, and we want, the problem is that we want like a perfect technology, because when I'm talking to people, they're all the time looking for this perfect technology, that is going to work fine 100% of the times. And we as humans, I would say we work 80% okay most of the time.
Sure.
No, but jokes apart, I mean, like, it's not infallible. I mean, like, it's going to make mistakes. The problem is, and that's the main difference, right? When I make a mistake, I'm going to be accountable for that. So I'm going to be responsible. So if I'm driving a car and, I have an accident and it's my fault, it's my fault. Somebody's going to blame me. And, I need to take responsibility of that. Mm-hmm. But if I'm driving a Tesla, or let's say I'm driving an autonomous vehicle, right? I don't want to talk about Tesla, but if I'm driving an autonomous vehicle, well, I'm not driving it, right? The vehicle is driving me to a place. And there's an accident. So who is responsible? It's me for being in the vehicle. It's Tesla for owning the car. It's the telecommunications company, because they include a lot of latency by giving the answer, and they were not able to react on time. I think that's the biggest problem, that right now we are not in agreement, or we really don't know how to react to this kind of situations, because the technology is technology and it's not working 100% of the times good enough, and that's one of the problems.
Let's look more to the positive side, or the optimistic side. You said before you're an optimist. In this regard, at least, What are you most optimistic about when it comes to, again, the next 2 to 5 years of AI?
Well, I'm super optimistic, to be honest. I mean, like, I'm working in AI, right? The only thing is, like, I always try to see the two different sides of the picture. That's why sometimes I may seem like, hey, a bit critic, but at the same time super optimistic. So I just try to see, both pictures of the side. But the reality is, like, in terms of, quality of life, I think it's going to change dramatically over the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, like, we are doing very basic stuff that for sure we won't need to do it anymore. I mean, like, just, like, to answer emails, to prepare the shopping, to check, like, my to-do list, to manage, like, very manual processes. I mean, like, many, like, repetitive and boring tasks, we won't need it to do it anymore. And also in terms of, like, how we work, I think because the time to market, or the time that we take to, like, create new products, create new experience, create new services, is going to be reduced exponentially, because we have this technology that are going to accelerate the way that we create things. I think we will have a level of, like, comfort that is going to be much higher than the one that we have today. So, I mean, like, if we always analyze, like, to our predecessors, right? Like, I used to say, like, I'm living much better to how my father used to live. He grew up in a very, like, a small village here in Spain, around, like, 200 people. Imagine, like, 70 years back in Spain, in the middle of nowhere in Spain, they even didn't have, like, a bathroom. Everyone was sleeping in the same room. So, I mean, like, the level of wellness they used to have, it's quite different to the one that we have today, and to the one that, like, our kids will have in the future, right? So, thinking about, like, 10 years from now, I think it's going to grow much faster than it has grown over the last 20 to 50 years, right? So this is what I think is going to happen. And I think that's why I'm super optimistic about we are going to have, like, access to, like, experience services that when we think about it, and because we will probably achieve, like, higher levels of intelligence, maybe we can start exploring things that we really don't know today. Like, hey, what is behind, like, or what is beyond the moon, or beyond the galaxy, or are we in a good position, like, to visit other places? Do we have life out there? Do we have even any idea or how, like, the Earth and everything was created? Maybe we can start, like, finding answers to questions that right now they are just hypotheses, right? Like, we really don't know how to answer those questions, because if we really achieve, higher levels of intelligence, maybe we will be there. So that's why I'm super optimistic that for many questions that right now we don't have an answer, maybe in some time we will have in a good position to know more. To be honest.
You reckon, even though AI, like we've had this democratization of AI, with those things they've just spoken about, they seem to be things that, like, it's going to be the Elons of the world who do those kinds of things, right? Or the professors at the most prestigious colleges. For the other 8 billion of us, who are probably not going to be doing those kinds of things. Or are you saying that actually in the future, in this future, more people will be doing things like this because the menial is replaced by the meaningful?
Yeah, well, I don't know, to be honest. I don't have that crystal ball. I think I mean, like, most of the people I mean, like, the problem is, like, you and me, we have lived the two different worlds, right? The world that we had without AI, and the world that we have today with AI. And they are, like, completely different. And right now it's just starting. I think that the gap is going to get, like, bigger and bigger over time. So that's the thing. Like, maybe there is kind of a break between, like, our generation and the one that, like, I mean, like, our kids and so on. But let's say in 50 years, everyone will be, like, growing with this technology, with the art of the possible that they can do. And for them, that will be normal. So I think, like, eventually everyone is going to use it. And you will have maybe some not just that is like, hey, I prefer to do, like, everything like in the old school. But I think it's something that you cannot stop. It's part of of the natural evolution. I mean, like right now you can go by I don't know. I'm not going to say swimming, but like if you want to go from let's say Madrid to Berlin, I'm not taking a bus. I'm not. I mean, like I'm just taking a flight because like it's cheaper, it's faster. I mean, like hey, it's technology, it's there, so I'm going to use it. So I think it's going to be the same with AI. And yeah, there will be some people that they're still like trying to be opposite to the use of AI because it's going to limit us as humans, as people who think, and so on. But I think it's just a matter of time that everyone will finish, like adopting in one way or the other.
Are the things that people, you mentioned our generation, are the things that people in our generation, or let's even just say maybe people who are over 25, for whom AI, they didn't use AI in school, or maybe even they didn't use it at university. They're not AI natives, although they are internet natives, but they're not AI natives. What should we be learning about now? What should we be using now? If we're not one of those 700 million ChatGPT or however many million people are using the Claudes and Groks and Llamas and whatnot, I mean, agents, AI agents kind of stands out as something that some people have really adopted really well, and other people are going, where would I even start? If you could like what's a starter kit for someone who's not an AI native, but for whom AI is going to be a part of their life for the rest of their life? What should we be doing? How should we be skilling up?
So for the ones who are not AI native, right? I think they have to see this as an opportunity, right? And I would say, I will increase maybe more than 25. I will increase to the 30s and so on, because young people, I mean, like I consider 25 like young people, right?
Sure.
They're using it like in one way or the other. But I mean, like people who are not AI native, they need to see this as an opportunity more than a risk, and it's a way that it's going to help them the way that they be at work, they perform at work, the way that we make connections, the way that you can identify other things to do in your life. So I mean, like it's a big opportunity, and you cannot live, or at least that's my opinion, right? You cannot live just, looking to the other way around. Like, hey, this is not happening in the world. I mean, like the same that we had television, the same that we have the internet. And I think it has a lot of, an amazing use cases, right? Let's think about, the person who is alone at home. And the movie here is not just a joke. I mean, like it's real. Maybe for some people, it's perfect because this is what they need. And we cannot criticize like, hey, someone wants to have companion with an AI, because I mean, like for some people, maybe it's more convenient, right? So I think, people who are not AI native, they just need to make sure that this is an opportunity. But also my recommendation is to don't forget the basics, the foundation, the roots, right? That's my biggest concern, right? That at some point of time, we forget what make us humans, and that's one of what I consider my opposite feelings, right? Like from one side, I'm super optimistic of AI, but from the other side, I don't want to think like we will become like super lazy, that we forget about what make us humans. The way that we create, the way that we make relationships, the way that we have created this society. And I think this is one of the things that they are right now in the risk in the future, because at the end of the day, people who are not AI native have gone through these two different realities, right? And they are also responsible for teaching the young people to act in some manner or the other. But yeah, I would say also, AI native people, I will try to teach them how to resolve a problem without using ChatGPT, to be honest, because right now I think it's quite complicated.
Yeah, man, I love that answer. That's great, man. So for people who aren't AI native, in the same way that it's going to be, Elon going to Mars and not 8 billion people, the concerns about AI perhaps are for the people in leadership, and the opportunity is there for everybody else. And so if something's going to change, it's going to change anyway. So we might as well dive in and take advantage of this like monumental opportunity right now, if you're not an AI native, on the one hand. And on the other hand, we still have, as perhaps older people, we still have this imperative to pass down humanity to the next humans. I love that, man. That's a great answer. That's really cool. Let's talk about agents. Obviously, like things like ChatGPT, LLMs were one of the first like killer apps for artificial intelligence or machine learning in this kind of sense, in this age or era. Agents are the maybe next iteration or the next tranche of opportunity. How are you thinking through agents, and how should maybe businesses, individuals, community organizations, governments, different kinds of categories of people and organizations, how should we be thinking about the agentic opportunity presently?
I think it's huge, right? And especially for enterprises, because in some manner, like the LLMs were not like very meaningful. I mean, like they were still very manual, right? Like you were prompting an LLM, you're getting an answer. You were prompting an LLM, you were getting an answer. But in terms of, like enterprises, that they have a lot of processes, they have a lot of things to do, like manually, very complex processes, very complex workflows, right? Where you cannot even define a simple algorithm based on like business rules, because there are like a lot of in-betweens, right? Okay, what should I do if but this is not exactly rule, so you need to come back and, hey, let's talk to a person, right? Like a real person. So I think agents, they are meaningful for many different things. Of course, like we are evolving the capabilities of LLMs. So right now, we have these reasoning capabilities where this model can take a complex problem and break it down in many different problems, right? So it's much easier to face the smaller problems and to give like a right answer. But also something that is super powerful about agents is like they get access to tools, because one of the main problems of LLMs is that they are based on their pure training data. And the training data, it's biased, or it's not real, or they don't know about your company, they don't know about your customers. So you can use tools. So you can use tools just to retrieve information from your database, or to query on the internet, or to call this different API to get the latest claim from a customer. So tools are super powerful because you get access to an endless world of possibilities. Third, you have memory, and that's also the biggest, one of the biggest differentiator to LLMs. Talking about memory means, like, of course, you can keep a track of the conversation with the customer. So if I'm, like looking for a flight, it's not going to ask me like, hey, these are for trains, because I already asked by, like going on a plane. But because I talked to these agents many times before, and they already know that I'm flying all the time with the same company, they won't ask me about, hey, or they're not going to offer me these other companies, because they know I'm already, a gold member of this company. They want to travel with them all the time, right? So they have this long-term memory that they're going to create a better user experience, right? And we don't have that when like talking to a real agent, to a person, because all the time they're asking us like, hey, okay, tell me about you. What is your ID number? What are your? I mean, like they really don't know. So the model is going to have it. And finally, they are able to, like to self-reflect, like, hey, and this is something good, because we as humans, sometimes we have the problem that we say the first thing that comes to our mouth, right? Especially politicians, right? They talk too much. But these LLMs, they are able to, like, to self-criticize, like, hey, this is the answer. I'm going to self-reflect if this is the right answer, or I'm going to do another iteration, right? So with all these ingredients into the table, agents, they are going to take us to the next level. They are going to be able to, like automate a lot of different tasks within the companies, right? And I think that's the biggest shift for organization right now. And as soon as we see this, we'll see, like companies releasing products much faster, creating better customer experience, creating better products. So I think agents, it's the biggest shift. And because also agent, it's the previous step to this new world of physical AI, right? So, I mean, like, first, we had LLMs, right? We had AI. Then we have AI agents. That is, like let's say individuals in the digital world taking actions. And then we have physical AI. That is, like humanoids taking actions in the real world, taking physical actions in the real world, right? And that's why I think this is super powerful agents. And I'm seeing already, like talking to many people, talking to many founders, talking to customers around the world, the way they are like super foolish by using agents. I think this is just the beginning on what we are going to see in the incoming years.
Yeah, man. If we skip over physical AI for a minute and think about AGI, how is this a reality? Is this a reality in our lifetime? Is this something we should be scared of, or is this going to be meaningfully good for humans?
So if you ask 200 people in the AI community, 50 of them, they will tell you that, 20 of them, they will tell you AGI is going to come in the next year, but they're telling you all the time that it's coming in the next year. So next year, when you ask them next year, they will tell you that it's coming on the next year, right?
Yeah.
Because they need to beat this guy. Another 30-40% of the people, they will tell you that it will come within the next 5 to 10 years, and 20% it will come within the next 50 years. It's the same answers that, like to the kind of surveys that the AI community or the, researchers or the scientists did like 50 years ago. They are saying like, hey, yeah, in 50 years. So I think what we all agree is like AGI, if there is kind of, like a equivalent or, like same definition on what we understand by AGI or super intelligence for everyone, I think everyone agrees that, like at some point of time, AGI is going to arrive. Like, like higher level of intelligence, much higher to the ones that we have as humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I do believe is like AGI is not coming by using LLMs, because LLMs, they still face many challenges that, like, I think they have a limit, right? They have this wall that, yeah, we can make, like a more capable LLMs, but, like intelligent or like AI is more, it's much more than, like normal intelligence, like being able to solve like complex equations, right? If we talk about, like a perception, if we talk about, like intelligence, emotions, if we talk about, like feelings, if we talk about, like many other aspects, I don't think we will achieve that by using LMs. But I think eventually, I would love to see it. I'm pretty sure we will reach this kind of, like a super intelligence or whatever you want to call it.
We're going to just iteratively approach it, and then one day we'll be like, oh, we did it. Or do you think it'll be a kind of a big breakthrough, quantum leap, Cambrian explosion style? Oh my goodness, here it is.
I think both, right? Let's see, for example, how all these LLMs has been trained, right? All of them, they're using transformers. It was released in 2017, but it was until ChatGPT when they really proved that, like they were able to use the transformers technology at a different level, right? To bring real value. So I think at some point of time, we may have an important breakthrough that is going to take us to Eureka. And already some companies, they are working in that direction. For example, I think Meta is working in that direction with Eureka, different approaches beyond LLMs, right? So I think at some point of time, we'll see some of these breakthroughs, but maybe we won't realize like how powerful this is going to be. And then at some point of time, eventually we will start using it, and we'll realize that, okay, we have, like this high level of intelligence that maybe is not going to come overnight, but maybe it's coming in, we will have this kind of, like a ChatGPT events where, like something great is coming and everyone is talking about. The problem is like we as humans, we are really complicated to be surprised anymore, right? We are seeing this technology that, like it's completely new. It was not there like 3 years ago. And sometimes we are saying, yeah, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. So we are very easily, like to forget where we are coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will arrive and we'll have this breakthrough in terms of research, but we have to put together, I mean, like one thing is research and different thing is to put this research into real world applications.
Yeah, man. There's so much more I'd like to ask you about, but I do want to make sure I ask you this question. Eduardo, what is your most contrarian view, if you're happy to talk about it? Are there any particular views that you hold? Doesn't have to be about AI, ML particularly, but again, do you find yourself in the minority report on any of your opinions or perspectives? everyone's looking one way, but you think we should be going in a different direction, or people are really excited about something, but you're excited about something that no one else is looking into. Do you have any particularly contrarian views?
I like the example of Minority Report, to be honest. I watched that movie like I was a kid, actually. Well, I don't remember. I think it's from the 20s. I don't remember. No, from the well, I don't remember the year, but I was much younger than I'm right now, right? And that made me think a lot. And I think San Mar is happening the same with AI. I think I'm a bit concerned. I'm super optimistic about like what AI is going to bring us, right? I think it's going to be able to like give us this level of quality of life that is going to be something that like we have never thought about it. But at the same time, I think there is this big risk to forget which one our like our roots as humans, right? I see two different futures in my head. I see this future where kids will keep playing on the streets, they will keep going to the school, they will keep having fun, making friends, and so on and so forth, and we'll keep enjoying things out there. But I also see this future where we have commoditized because AI is taking control of almost everything, that we don't find a purpose on life, right? That we are so bored because, hey, I mean, like, it's funny, the argument, because from one side, it's like, hey, you just have AI to do all the boring tasks, so you can just, relax, sit, and have fun. But at the end of the day, also for us as humans, we, in some manner, we enjoy these boring tasks, right? So these are like my opposite ways of seeing this, right? Like, at some point of time, we forget where we're coming from. I remember reading this book from, I don't forget right now this author. It's from the 50s, very popular. He wrote The Foundation. He was from Russia. I don't remember right now his name. It's a bit complicated name, right? But he was taking about like a future. I think it was around 2500 or something like that. And it was funny because humans were living across the universe, but we didn't remember where they were coming from. Like, they were in Earth and all these things. And this is one of the things that I'm more concerned about. For example, right now, when I love history, right? And I try to read about, civil war in Spain, but also, all the Romans, the empire, and so on. And right now, if we want to go beyond, 2,000 years ago, it's complicated for us because we have not documented all the things that have happened, right? And I think right now we have the tools to document almost everything, but at the same time, I think like we have the risk to forget most of the things that are happening. So that's my mind. Try to be optimistic, and I want to believe as humans. I think when things goes really wrong, we are capable of achieving the best stuff as humans. But at the same time, I think we have this big risk about what's going to happen. So, I mean, like my mind is crashing all the time with the two different thinkings, and it's complicated to me, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I mean, even before I contrasted the mundane for the meaningful, but there is a lot of meaning in the mundane, and so that they're not they're not polar opposites. Yeah, very, very interesting, man. Well, Eduardo, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your perspective and helping us to learn more about AI and how we could think about it. If people want to hear more from you, where can they find you online?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really enjoyed, and yeah, more than happy to be here talking to you. Really nice conversation.
Anywhere people can hear more from you?
Yeah, I mean, like, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, mainly on LinkedIn. So, and to be honest, I always answering messages. I'm not using agents to use my LinkedIn. So
We would never know.
all the time it's me. I mean, like I always say the same. This is like a social network, right? So it has been designed to have like people talking to each other. So it's always me. So if they send me a message, for sure I will answer.
Good on you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Off-Chain, and we love bringing you great guests like Eduardo. Hope we've inspired you to learn more about new and exciting technology like AI and machine learning, to think about the future and how you might be a part of building it. As always, please like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word, and join us again next week for another great episode of Off-Chain with me, Don. Until then, take care.